Defense calls Julie Johnson.
You swear affirm any testimony in the court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You'll have a seat, please, over there. Just state your name and spell your last
Julie Jones, Jones.
Ms. Jones, who are you married to?
I am married to Tim Jones Sr.
And how did you all meet?
Well, a little over 15 years ago, we might have been one of those first Match.com people. Timmy actually put a post up, and I had not had a lot of luck working and dating, so I put a profile up, and I was actually conversing with Timmy Jr. and his dad. So Timmy was typing, and typing rather quickly, because you know that he has a computer background. And then one day I saw that Tim Sr. was online, and I typed him, and he's henpecking, you know, really slow getting back. So you got to remember, this is back in the age before we had all that instant messaging. And I was like, what is going on? You're taking forever. And he kept saying, call me, call me. And well, I didn't want to call, but I got tired of waiting 20 minutes just to hear a hello or how are you. And I called him, and the rest is history. We're here today.
And how many children do you have?
I have 3 children. I had 4. I lost a child, but I have 3 living right now.
And who are they?
I have Chad Sinkowski. He's my oldest. He's 27. I have Jacqueline. She's my middle child, and she's 25. And then my baby is another Tyler. So we have a big Tyler and a little Tyler. And little Tyler is 23.
When you and Tim Sr. got together, that was when? What year?
Oh, I'm trying to think. Maybe about 2002, 2003, somewhere in there.
And that was right after Tim had gotten out of the boot camp program.
Yes, Tim was out of the boot camp program and living with his father. His father had already been separated, and
Did Tim Jr. ever help take care of your kids at that point?
yes, he did. And, you know, you've heard us talk about Sheldon and how we always kind of made fun of Timmy being really bright. And one of the other things is sarcasm. So I had a job that I had to work 1 weekend a month. And I asked Timmy to watch my kids. He'd stayed with me. He'd been with my kids. It was no big deal. And they were a little bit rambunctious. And he called me, and he's like, when are you coming home? And I said, I've got 2 more appointments. I must do these. These are top clients. I'll be there, you know, give me 45 minutes and a half hour to get home. And, you know, you're just going to have to, you know, handle it, you know. And he said, well, what if I can't handle it? I said, I don't know, call the police. Well, about an hour later, he calls back to say, I called the police and they're not going to come and do anything. When are you going to be home? So he just, you know, we had a lot of fun and funny memories about that. Because he was just happy watching the kids, and they were happy to be with him. But when they got a little rambunctious, he wanted, you know, them to play with them and have fun, and they didn't necessarily want to go outside and play basketball and things like that. So you got to remember, I had a girl, and she was used to 5 brothers, so she could be a handful.
Did Tim Jr. seem happy about your union with Tim Sr.?
Yes, very happy. You know, Timmy needed a mom and a female figure in his life. So when I came in, he was at a crossroads, and we were able to talk. We were able to build a relationship and become friends, and a parent role as well.
Government approach. Ms. Jones, I'm just going to show you what's been marked for identification purposes is Defense 341, 340, 339, 241. 342. Do you recognize those?
Yes.
Know those family pictures?
Yes, dear.
And have you seen this, what's been marked, this flash drive's been marked as Defendants
Yes.
365 before?
Yes.
It has a video on it that you've seen of
Yes.
some family time. Ms. Jones, I'm gonna just put some of these pictures with the court's permission up. I know where we're headed. Just- Yes, ma'am. Last one I want to show you. 368, you recognize that? Your Honor, I'd move against 368, 341, 340, 339, 241, 342, 365, and the evidence.
I wrote down 341, 339, 343, 241, 342, and then the video is 365. Did you name two more pictures?
Yes, sir. May I approach?
368.
341, 340,
I didn't have 340.
339, 241,
Okay.
342.
What about 343?
That one was, that one
That wasn't done? Okay, straight on now. 365 is the video.
Yes, sir.
Any objection?
I think those are the ones that are working in the background.
Okay, so without objection, those 340, 341, 342, 339 maybe, 365, 368, and 241. Without objection.
Thank you, sir. Permission to publish. Your Honor, may I publish?
Yes, sure.
Thank you. And if you'll just tell us, Ms. Jones, who's in these pictures and what was going on at this time in y'all's lives.
This picture was taken, this is Mira in the picture, and it was taken in Pennsylvania. So when Mira was born, Amber, she was having, a lot of those Braxton Hicks contractions. So they lived 19 hours from us. And we didn't know whether to come or not come. She had already had 2 or maybe even 3 visits to the hospital, and they were false alarms. And so we waited, and Tim suggested just wait until, because he didn't want to, we would be there, 2 weeks if she didn't have the baby. And so as soon as Tim called, we got in the car and drove. It's, Google says 19 hours. We made it 19 hours with our stops all the way, and that's me holding her. She's still in the hospital blanket, and that was our first grandbaby. It was, I can't tell you how special it was. And you could kind of see in the background that this was also Timmy and Amber's first, it was a small cottage. It was adorable, this little place. And so they really just had a bassinet for the baby, and that was it. So Tim and I, we went and bought a crib and a changing table, and we just decked out that nursery for her. It was just incredible to have her in our life. That's where Big Tim fell in love and calls her Mary Gracie. Her middle name was Gracie, and he liked Gracie. He thought it was so delicate like her.
Next one I want to show you is 340. Tell us, that's 340. Tell us.
That's Tim and I. And again, so now Timmy and Amber are in Mississippi. And this is when E was born, or Elias. And Tim and I, again, were there. Now, this was taken in the hospital. So we got to be there for the birth of our grandbaby, which was exciting. And again, we held him the first time, we were there. It's just,
Next one I want to show you is 339.
This was our backyard. This is Natan, and this was coming home from the hospital. So we were there again. Natan was born in Mississippi. So when he was born, I was there. And then when they came home from the hospital, the babies were born in Tupelo. And they had to go through us to get home. So they would come, and that was his first day home from the hospital. And you have to remember that Amber, we never met Amber's family. She didn't have any family, and Timmy's mom wasn't there. So I got to play the grandma role, and I also got to help Amber with the babies and be there after you give birth. It's a tough time for a mother to have children and be giving birth. So I got to hold her and him. This is Natan, and that's our backyard.
And one more of a birth time. This is 241, and who's this?
That's Natan at the hospital. So as I said, we were at the hospital, and you can tell Amber just literally had him, and we put them all together and took their new family photo, and that's what you're seeing. You're seeing the new edition and the family photo, all of them.
Were you in senior present there as well?
Yes, we were there. I believe Tim took the picture, or I could have taken the picture. So yeah, we were there. It was the first family photo with the new baby.
Did you enjoy being a grandmother?
I love being a grandmother. When they came and we got a chance to spoil them and have Christmas and do everything with them, it was so special. Timmy was going through school, and they were building their family, and every weekend we would have a cookout, and the kids would come over. So for most of their lives, up until the last year, every weekend I spent with those grandchildren. We'd go to the park, we'd do Easter egg hunts on Easter. We did everything together. I was very much a part of their life. I never, ever did not feel like their grandmother. I changed diapers, I changed clothes, and fed them cake on their birthday, and just had a wonderful time with them. I can't tell you how beautiful it was. And I promised I wasn't gonna cry, because I bumble when I cry, but I want you to know that I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world.
And did you call them the babies like seniors?
We always called them the babies. You know, when it was just Mira, we were kind of like Mira or Gracie. And then when Elias came along, we kind of, you know, Mira or E or Elias. But then when Natan came, all of a sudden it was like, okay, where are the babies? It became kind of a group. And they're very close in age, and it's kind of like Mama Duck when they would walk. They would kind of all be behind you in a little line. So they all were always together, and so we just referred to them as the babies.
What did they call you?
They called me Grandma.
Your Honor, I'd like to publish 365, if I could, which is a video representing one of the cookout times that Ms. Jones just mentioned.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. You always play
Eli, it's on. This one's over there, that yours.
Do you remember that day?
Yes.
Can you just tell us a little bit about it?
It was a joint birthday party for all three of the kids, and they didn't know You know, they come over every weekend, and they had no idea that we were going to throw a birthday party for all three of them. And we literally got a bike for each child, and we put them on the dining room table with balloons and confetti all around the room. So when you walked into the front door, that's the first room that you saw. And I will never forget their little faces and the amazement of, are those for us? And they were just so excited. And they kept singing happy birthday to themselves that day. Natan was looking for his Spider-Man bike, so he had Spider-Man. It was with the webs and everything. So that's what that was about. And you can see, I mean, in Mississippi, you have to do cookouts. And I just wanted to, it's so hot, you can't really, you know, turn that oven on. So we always did that. That was part of being outside and playing with the kids. You can see the pool in the background that we talk about. So if you're running around and you get hot, we jump in, cool off, and back to running around. We have just shy of an acre, so they have plenty of room to run and play.
In the summer of 2012 that we've heard about, this is 342. I think this might be from that summer. Does that seem right?
I think it is from that summer. Matter of fact, I know it's from that summer. Yes. And that's one of the, like I said, they're in their bathing suits, and we just would cook out and go swimming, ride the bikes, and just have fun.
Your life experience, is that summer rank pretty high in terms of?
I think that was really the best summer that we had. Everybody wanted to kind of chip in and help out. Timmy was going through a rough patch, so it brought the family together. So my other two stepsons lived up north at the time, so they would try to come down. So when they came down, other relatives would come over. So it was always a busy time with a lot of people coming, going, and we were always doing. It was, you know, you can tell we were having fun. We enjoyed it. That was a swing that turned into a bed that you could lay down. And so a lot of times we would just kind of lay it down and rock them to sleep, because the children always wanted to be part of everything. So sometimes on the weekend, even though it was a little late, they didn't want to go in and go to bed. So we would take and lay that down and just kind of rock them, and they would still get to be part of the activities when the adults were sitting around and talking.
I want you to talk a little bit. The jury's heard about it somewhat, but when you and Senior got the call from the Smith County Sheriff's Department to come to Raleigh, Mississippi, after the babies were missing and Tim was missing, I know that you were there and you were part of that process of desperately trying to find the babies, and I want you to just tell the jury about what you did, your sort of role at that time,
So Big Tim, I work at home, and Big Tim came and asked me for the Bible. It's a book that we have with everybody in the family, their phone number, the kid's social security number, and everything. And so when he asked me for that, I knew something was wrong, and I didn't know what was wrong. So he came and got the Bible, and then he came back and he said, hang up the phone, come with me. And that was when Timmy was missing with the children. And so time waits, and your mind plays all kinds of tricks, and we're waiting and we're waiting. So it was about 11 o'clock at night. And I don't know about you, but sometimes you have a moment in your life that changes on a dime. When that phone rang at 11 o'clock, my life changed on a dime. They told Tim answered the phone, and he was in the hallway. And I could hear him say, "You have Timmy?" And I immediately stopped, went to him, and I could hear him say, "But we don't have the children." And I hit the ground on my knees, dear God. And we're here today. you know the story. I've been with you watching it. And that's what happened when they contacted us. And then Tim and I immediately, he picked me up and we held each other and he said, all right. And we were dressed. I grabbed my purse. We got in the car. We started driving. We were driving for maybe 20 minutes and we were calling them to let them know that we were coming. And they told us, don't come. We're not going to let you see him, you know. And Tim's like, well, I'm coming. And they were like, well, you're just going to sit outside. So we turned around and we went back. And then we called his mom and let her know that they had found Timmy, but he didn't have the babies. And we called Amber and let her know what was happening. And then they told us that we could come about 1 o'clock. And we were there at 1 o'clock in Smithville, or Smith County.
And the jury's heard about how you and Senior were there because you wanted to help.
Oh, yes. We wanted to help. I'm nervous, and I'm scared, and I hurt, and I want you to know how much these babies were my world. And I would have done anything to find them, and I know that my husband was. We were united. We've often had to sit and talk over the last 4 or almost 5 years about that event. We wouldn't change a thing. We were there. We helped them find those babies. And I worked with Creech, Lieutenant Creech. Him and I went through pictures together. He laid out pictures, and I told him, I said, you know, that's Mira. Don't call her Mira, call her Mira Gracie. And I told her what she was doing in the picture. And, you know, and he laid out a picture of Elias. And I said, at first I said, well, we really call Elias E. And then he laid out a picture, and Elias was in a little suit. And that was when they went to church and they had the children dedicated. So I said, no, this picture, you got to call him, you know, Elias Xavier Jones. And you put that emphasis on his full name. And then Natan, they had a picture of Natan, and Natan has this adorable little smile. And he had, I don't know how he picked it up, if it was from one of a movie or something, but he would take a glass, and if you put it here without a plate, he would just say, you know, a cup of water. But when you put it on a saucer, he would go, cup of tea, Grandma, cup of tea. And so I told him to say cup of tea and give it a little English accent, just like Natan did, in order to help us find them. And then Gabriel.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, and Gabriel, I just said, with Gabriel's just got the cutest little smile. He doesn't do too much, so, you know, there's not really too much I can say. And then he put out a picture of Elaine, and I had never held Elaine. I didn't get to see her or meet her, and it hurt. It hurt.
And are you grateful for the Smith County Sheriff's Department for what they were doing?
Oh, I am so grateful to them. They helped us find the babies. They brought them home. They did what we asked. We brought them home.
And you're grateful for the Lexington County Sheriff's Department as well?
Yes.
There's something at your home in Mississippi that you, at one point in the past almost 5 years, as you said, that you asked us to take away from your home. And I was just hoping you could tell the jury the reason why you wanted us to take those things from your home.
So we had a memorial for the children in Mississippi. They were very much a part of our community. Amory, Mississippi is a small town, and we live on a corner. So a lot of people had seen the children playing in the yard. So we held a memorial, and we had put 5 wreaths, and we had blown up pictures put inside of each wreath. And after the memorial, we put the pictures up in Tim's office. Tim's office had all family pictures. That's what he used as his pictures on his wall, was just 8x10s of different photos of the whole family. And he kind of took some down and made a space for these pictures. Well, I put the wreaths, we have a door, a French door at the foot of our bed. So I lined the wreaths, and my sister, she helped me because she said, you know, I know you're grieving, but so each day she would call me and I would take a flower from the wreath until eventually there was no more flowers. And then I took the bows, and then I took the balloons. I can't tell you how long those silver balloons last because they still were floating. And it helped me to grieve. And then with Big Tim, he would go in his office and he would just sit in front of those pictures and cry for hours on hours on hours, day after day. And I couldn't help him. And I had to get rid of the pictures. So I asked Casey, please take the pictures. I don't know what else to do. I can't get him out of the office. And he's been crying every day for the last 3 weeks. And then I'll have one day where he doesn't cry, and then he's back to 3 weeks of crying again. He had talked about suicide and joining the babies, and I was afraid. I was losing everything.
In that room, did you also have some of the baby's ashes?
We had their ashes. We had an urn. So their urn was there, and then they went to Disney World. So we had their Disney hats that they wore in the picture with the urns, and we had a couple of little items that they had made at school. Different craft projects that you do at school with your kids. We had those. And they were, you know, Muriel wrote her name on the back, and they were very special to us. So they're still there. And I've moved, the ashes are in the living room. They're not in his office. So.
Despite everything you've been through, what Tim did, do you still love him?
Oh, I love Tim. I love him very, very much. I do. He's my son. You know, I don't know when it happened or how, but somewhere along the line, there is no step. He's my son.
Ms. Jones, do you want Tim put to death?
Oh, God, no. No. I want mercy. I don't want him put to death. I think Tim, you know, he's smart. He's brilliant. We've told you about that over and over again. He can pay a debt to society. This man, I have 2 other children who have graduated college. He taught them how to learn and to do the math. He tutored when he was in college. He can pay a debt to society by giving all these GEDs. You know, our community talks about, you know, rehabilitating the inmates. Timmy has that ability. Think of how many people he could get GEDs for over the next 40 years, and they could become productive members of society. He still has a lot to give. He has so much to give to me. I love him.
Would you and Senior continue to have a relationship with him?
Oh, definitely. You know, I have my daughter, unfortunately, when we laid the memorial service for the grandbabies, she didn't know she was pregnant. So about 3 weeks after, she found out she was pregnant, and that pregnancy was very hard. I have a 4-year-old granddaughter, and the other day when I was visiting with Timmy, she said, "Grandma, you tell Uncle Tim that I want my Granny and Papaw back," because we were here with him. He's very much a part of the family. We all know him and share stories and talk with him and keep him a part of our life. I've been waiting for this trial to conclude so that we could have a relationship. We've been talking about moving to South Carolina. It's beautiful here. I love it. And we want to be near him. We want him in our life.
You've been a part of the Jones family now for some time,
A little over 15 years, because we just, yeah.
and I know that you told us before that you've been around some difficult times in the Jones family.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you have 6 children with 3 are his and 3 are mine, and we've got ex-wives and ex-husbands, and we've got this grandmother and that grandmother or great-grandmother to the grandbabies, there's a lot of confusion and stuff. And the Jones family, I come from a small family. I have 1 brother and 1 sister. And we don't have a lot of cousins or anything like that. And the Joneses, I mean, they've got so many cousins, and I mean, it's a national debt when we have a family outing to, feed everybody. But with all that, there's conflict and there's love.
Have you seen the family coming together, rallying around Tim at this time?
Yes. One of the things that he has done is he's made us closer. He's made us so much closer. We are open and we talk about our feelings. We share our feelings. The 5, we all have, the 5 children, Timmy's brothers and sister, all have memories that they want to share and they want to talk about, and they have bad days and they have good days, and they've reached to each other to get them through those days. Carolyn and I, Tim's ex-wife, everybody thought we were sisters. We have a mission to we both took on the mission to raise Timmy because he didn't have a mom. Then we took on the mission to raise the other 5 children together, united. United we stand, divided we fall. And this family is united.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Jones, how long did Amber and Tim and any of the children live in Mississippi?
So they moved to Mississippi when Mira was about, let's see, she was less than a year. So I want to say maybe about 10 months. So they had started their relationship in Chicago, and we moved to Mississippi shortly after. So they got married in the summer, or no, they would have got married in June. So they got married in June, and that fall, we moved to Mississippi, Tim Sr. and I. And then they went down to Mississippi and were with family. They didn't live with us at that time. And then they left and went up to Pennsylvania, and they were maybe in Pennsylvania for a year at most. And then after they had Mira, and it was, we're trying to, you got to think back to that age. It wasn't where you just pressed a button on your phone. You had to do FaceTime and the computer, and you got to get a camera, and you attached it to your computer and all that to kind of talk to each other. And we would talk to each other, and then eventually they just came down, and Timmy Timmy was realizing, and I think every young man, when they become a father, realizes that he needed to get back to college, that he needed that degree to better himself. So that's when they came back to Mississippi. So they were there, they left, they came back.
When they came back, do you remember when it was?
So I'm trying to think when Mira was born, and then they came back. It was cold, so I'm going to say January or February.
What year was it?
Okay, I'm trying to think the year. So Mira would be 13. We're at 19. I can't, my brain is just, so it would be 13 years ago.
How long did they stay in Mississippi with you before they came to South Carolina?
They never left Mississippi till they went to South Carolina, so that whole time.
How long were they in Mississippi before they moved to South
11 years.
And how long did they live with you?
When they first came down with Mira, they lived with us for, maybe 3 months or so. And then they went, and Timmy went to Itawamba Community College.
And then they came back, and that's when Tim went to Mississippi State.
No, he graduated Itawamba College, and then after he graduated, he went straight to Mississippi State.
And how far away? They didn't live with you then, they were in student housing, right?
Okay, so Itawamba College would be about 25 minutes this way. We were here, and Starkville would be about 45 minutes to an hour this way. Is that what you were asking?
I'm not asking my question very well. I guess I was trying to get a feel for after Mira, Eli, and Natan, after they were born during that time frame, how much time did you have with Amber and Tim?
Oh, every weekend. I mean, that was when, so as I said before, Amber didn't have a mom here, and Timmy was going to school, and Jackie and Amber were almost like sisters. So every weekend they would come over. We would see the babies, and my husband's business brought him in Starkville probably 4 times a week at least, and he would stop by and see them during the week.
You would agree with me if I said that your house was an oasis for Amber to come?
Yes, I think she liked to come there. You know, she'd come in and I'd be like, give me that baby, you know, what are we doing here? And we all would like to, you know, play with the kids.
And then when Tim took the job at Intel, all that changed, because they weren't able to see you all every week.
No, it was hard. So we went to them when he took the job at Intel. So we were going back and forth to them at that point.
And then the summer that you kept the children, that would have been the summer of 2012.
12, yes.
And you had how many children?
How many children?
I mean, how many, 4 or 5, how many did you have at that time?
We started out with 3. Actually, we started out with none, if you want the whole story. So we started out with no children. And Timmy was, he was upset that Amber was leaving the 3 older ones alone at night. So he went and got them with Travis. And then we had them for about 3 or 4 weeks. And then Big Tim couldn't believe that she was leaving the baby when we got that phone call. And he went out there, and I know you've heard his story. And so he changed his mind because he was going to have Amber keep Gabriel. And you got to remember, she's also pregnant at this time with a child that we don't know if it's our grandchild. And then we got Gabriel, and we had the 4 of them, but we didn't get them all at once.
The summer of 2012, I think, if I remember correctly, didn't you all even enroll the 3 oldest in school? Is there a plan to keep them there?
There was a plan to keep them there. Timmy was still back and forth. We were hoping that we would be able to have him work remotely. In the beginning, he was allowed to work remotely, and then it's my understanding that he was kind of new at the job. And if he got to work remotely, a lot of other people wanted to work remotely, so the remotely was taken away. And we were hoping that he was establishing himself and would be able to work remotely.
You were hoping that he'd be able to,
Yeah, come back and do what he had done in the beginning, yes.
and the grandkids could be with you.
And we would be with the grandkids and be able to enjoy them.
That didn't work out.
No, it did not work out.
Christmas of 2012, Tim brought the children up for Christmas.
Yes,
And then my understanding is he got into an argument with his father, called him down about the way that he was treating the women in the house. Is that right?
he was picking on his sister. So you've got to remember that Timmy and Jackie were very close. So that whole summer that they were together, Jackie was in college. So Timmy had basically asked her to be full-time nanny during the week, and then on the weekends, they would do things together. They even took a vacation for 2 weeks up north and spent time together. So they bickered and bantered back and forth, and they were bickering and bantering, and Big Tim was like, stop that, you guys. You know, you're worse than the kids, you know. And
after that, that's when Tim packed up the kids.
Tim packed up the kids and went back to Mississippi, and then
That was the last time that you saw Tim or the grandkids.
yes.
You were not aware of any of the DSS involvement in South Carolina with the children?
No, I was not aware of any of it. We had tried to come out in Thanksgiving, and it fell through, but I was not aware of any of it, no.
Fell through because
Well, it was more, there was Thanksgiving when he was still together with Amber. So it would be I think that's, I'm not sure if there was stuff back then.
Tim didn't want you to come?
No, it was Amber who didn't want us to come.
You weren't aware of the spice use, the drug use that was going on with him?
No, no. I had seen him, so the first time he came alone, so he came alone, and I was the first time I ever saw him have a drink. He also had a cigarette. So I was like, Tim, what is going on? You know, first alcohol and now you're smoking? Because he never. I mean, and he stayed with me often when I just never saw it. I knew what's happening. And then that lasted maybe 2 more visits. He came and was smoking, and then he said, that's it. And then he wasn't smoking and he wasn't drinking, and then that whole summer he was back to how he was before.
Then after December 2012, he cut off contact with
Yes. Then we you know, Big Tim wanted to, you know, hear an apology, and it didn't happen. Well, it had to happen. It's happened by now, but it hadn't at that point.
The only way it happened then was when Junior called Junior. He apologized.
Yes. It was mutual. That day that he called Tim was our wedding anniversary, and Tim had called him when we were having dinner, and they were laughing and getting ready for him to come visit us. We were all excited.
After Tim Sr. called him and apologized.
Yes.
If at any time Tim Jr. would have called you and asked for your help, you would have run there, wouldn't you?
Yes, I would have.
Thank you.
Jones.
Good afternoon, please state your name and place.
Tyler Jones, Jones.
Tyler, can you tell the jury a little bit about who you are and your relationship to Tim?
I am the half brother of Tim. I've been, I've been involved with Timmy in my whole life since I've been little. He got locked up and he went away for a little bit, and we lost touch. But when he got out, we got touch together again, and
You're Carolyn's son, right?
yes, sir.
So that was Tim's stepmom.
Yeah.
And y'all were with Tim from the time that you were born and growing up, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Was Tim kind of like a father figure to you?
Yeah. In a sense that he always, when I got to the age that I was able to learn and everything, Tim always guided me in the right direction. Always influenced me to do better, to just further my knowledge.
About how much older was Tim than you?
I would say, Timmy was 9 when they had me. I would say, 9 years? 9 years
I'm going
older.
to show you what's in evidence. This defense exhibit number 262. Ask you if you recognize that photo and can tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, sir. And at that time, we always had family Christmases. We always, it was just us 5 at that time. And we always spent as much time as we could with each other. I mean, Timmy was older, of course, but, for the most part, it was me and my brother Trav, and then there was Timmy.
I'll show you what's been marked for ID is Defense 266 and ask that you be admitted at this time. Please put up.
No objection.
Is this a picture when y'all are a little bit older?
Yeah. Of course, we got a little bit older, but we still same family Christmas every year. It didn't matter what holiday it was. 4th of July, we were always all together having a cookout, always hanging out.
Was there something that Tim was sort of good at in the neighborhood and entertaining the kids?
Skateboarding. I'll never forget it. Skateboarding. Yeah. Yeah, skateboarding. It was always good. Yeah. Remember there was this one time there was a recycling bin, the old yellow recycling bin that they had back in the day, and it was sitting there out in the front driveway, and I remember he ran into the garage, grabbed his skateboard, and came back out. And, at that time, it was a different, the whole neighborhood hung out. Everybody's kids all hung out, and it was a good time for everybody. And he brought out that skateboard, and he ollied that recycling bin, and everybody was just like, oh my gosh, Timmy, wow, man, what? So, I took on skateboarding after that.
How about, shoot, one more picture. This is 366 for ID as moved in that movie.
No objection.
266 just came in. This is 366.
366, yes, sir.
It's in also.
Can you tell the jury who that is?
That's my brother, Timmy.
Is that how you remember him?
Yes, sir.
Did Tim encourage you in any way about your education and what he thought you should do?
Architecture. After I got to a certain age, you know, me and Timmy were talking a lot on the phone. And I did a lot of architecture in high school, vocational architecture and stuff like that. And he saw that I had very good interest in it. And he always influenced me. Man, go to college. Go get you a book, go to college. And he saw that I really enjoyed. And that was something that we could bond over, you know. I wasn't the smartest person in the world, but he was. So, you know, we always, you know, every time it was like, man, you're just so smart. How do I even hold the conversation with you right now?
I'll show you one more picture. It's 367 for ID and without objection.
No objection.
Doesn't object.
That the five of y'all.
Yes, sir.
Now, you talked about, at one point in time, were you there when Tim's mom, Cynthia, came for a visit?
I was, and I remember it. It was in the back of Grandma's house at the time. And my dad always raised us up to be good boys, and she was just standing out there, and I remember just, you know, not to make it awkward, you know, I want to break the ice. So I ended up giving her a hug. But it was very, very strange, you know. I gave her that hug, and I walked back inside, and she was just sitting there talking to the air, talking to nobody, fighting somebody that wasn't there. And it was like hugging a ghost.
Do you recognize that in Tim when you look at him now?
I do.
There was a period of time where you were sort of separated from your family and pushed everybody away. Can you tell the jury about what was going on with you?
Yeah. I unfortunately got hooked on the spice for about 2 years. And I burned a lot of bridges with my family. And it hurt me. And not only hurt my brothers, it hurt my whole family. And I regret it to this day, but I'm glad we're all here now. And my mom and my brother tried so hard, and my dad tried so hard to get me off it, and there was nothing they could do. It was all on me. And I unfortunately was able to stop after 2 years because my buddy's mom ended up hanging herself up.
Did Tim tell you that he had tried spice?
Yes. I remember that phone call vividly. I remember talking to him on the phone, and he was like, hey, you know, what are you doing? I was like, you know, I'm working night shift, doing the same thing my dad was doing, tool and die guy. And I was sitting there talking to him, and he's like, you know, marijuana just ain't doing the same, you know? And I was like, all right, you know, what are you talking about? He's like, well, they got this new thing out. I was like, what is it? He said, spice. And I just got off about maybe 3 months, 3, 4 months. I just gotten off spice, and chills just instantly down my whole body. I said, Tim, you gotta stop. You have to stop. I've been down that road. You don't know what that drug is.
You mentioned while you were working at nights that you were getting a chance to talk to Tim during the night. Did you also get a chance to talk to your nieces and nephews?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I remember all the time. Timmy would call me because, you know, I'd be working night shift, and Timmy'd always put the kids down about 9 o'clock, and he'd always say goodnight to the kids, you know, and I got to talk to the kids and tell them I love them, and, you know, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Were you making plans? Was Tim talking to you about moving down to help him with the kids?
Yeah, this was about the end of it, and he called me up and he was like, man, you know, how do you feel about going to the Caribbeans? I said, well, You know, I'm working a night shift job. I'm 20 years old, and I don't like working nights. So come on, let's go. He said, I need someone to take care of and help me raise my kids. I said, no problem, man. I'll drop everything I got right now and come with you.
And you were up in Illinois at that time?
Yes, sir.
And then, after the kids' deaths, did you move back to Mississippi?
Yes, sir.
And why?
I moved back to Mississippi to be with my dad because my dad, I got a phone call from my grandma. And my grandma said, one of you boys need to come down here and help your dad because he's going down a rough road. So I ended up moving down there, and I've been stuck in Mississippi for 3 years.
You still live there and work with them?
Yes, sir.
Do you want him to be put to death?
I do not. I know what he did was horrible. He took 5 of our family members. If you guys don't take one more from us, this family can't take it.
Can you stay in touch with him in prison and talk to him?
I would love to. I would love to. Every day, any minute, I'll talk to him. He's my brother. I love him so much, you know. Just like anybody else has a brother or a sister, even though they did something super wrong, at the end of the day, you love your family and you love your brother and your sister, no matter what they did.
Thank you, Doctor. Please answer your questions today.
No questions. How long today? Want a break? Yeah, I got a nod. Yeah, we need a break. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back in here. Sure. I got to split the answer, but I went with the yes.